cord here on my end. And I totally appreciate you for even having the courage and bravery to come on and talk to me today. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess let's start with the positive stuff first. Tell me about your mom and who she was and how she was a mom and
Oh, she was so sweet. We were really close when I was a teenager and in recent years too. Um, God, I talk to her all the time, and she loved her job with the town, and she loved Boone. She was probably like the biggest cheerleader for Boone, North Carolina that there ever was. Just really proud of our town and promoting the town for tourism. And she also worked at Horn in the West. She volunteered there, and she got dressed up as the revolutionary like, I'll send you a picture actually where she's in her costume. And she was a seamstress, so she made all her costumes too. She's just a really neat and really, really, really sweet lady.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you sure you don't want to come off camera? You sound like you're pretty. I feel like I can feel your emotion, but I can't see your face. But I mean, I totally understand though too. Like,
Yeah, I might maybe in a minute.
yeah, sure. I guess so we have actually heard a lot from people in the community who worked with your mom, who just loved her and obviously talk so highly of the work that she did in Boone. But I guess tell me about like your childhood and growing up and kind of like what you want the community to know about her that they might not have known about her other than her work stuff.
Yeah, well, I think this pertains to the events. She was a really committed mother. And I mean, I have always felt so supported by her. I never had to keep a secret from my mom, um, within reason. It was like I could always just open up to her, and she has supported me so much. And my brother. And I think part of the events here are that she just really wanted him to get well, and wanted to help him. And like ultimately, that's part of the reason he was in the house, and was able to go back there. So
There's obviously a lot of speculation as to maybe what, was going on in the house. We did hear from the sheriff that there were concerns from family that he maybe had a bunch of guns and he didn't go into detail, but he did say there were concerns that were shared. I guess, what do you want people to know about your brother?
yeah, so I also saw some of those comments from the sheriff. I would find it hard to believe that if they thought he had guns, they wouldn't have told me. So I don't believe that that was the nature of those calls. I know that my mom, being she had it together. She was proactive, and she was, friendly, and she was friendly with everyone in the town. So she was going to law enforcement to make them aware of Isaac's mental status, because she didn't, not that she thought he was going to do something, but if they ever had to encounter him, they should know that he was not really in his right mind, and that he would probably see them as a threat. And so I think that was probably the nature of those calls. I know that my mom was communicating with them in that way. And I know that also my dad had communicated with them in a similar way. But the I guess the suggestion that that is because they were trying to warn the public of something, I don't get that. And I don't think that they would have kept that from me. I think this was, they were worried for their safety, for Isaac's safety, and for the law enforcement safety.
So your brother, you mentioned, was living at home because your mom, being the big-hearted woman she was, according to you, seemed like she was trying to get him help. Do you think he suffered from some sort of mental illness that she was trying to help him with? Do you guys know what the situation was? Was there ever a diagnosis or?
No, there was never a diagnosis. It started about 2 years ago. He seemed paranoid and delusional, and he was just afraid, really. And it would come and go the past couple years. We did so much talking and like going to family support groups and stuff, trying to figure out how we can help, our adult brother and son with this, when being that he was 30 years old when it started. There's just not a whole lot you can do when somebody's, you can't get in really. So, and any suggestion that we made that he needed help to him, he made it worse, or made him distance himself from us more, I guess.
Oh, that's tough. That's really tough.
Yeah, it was really tough. Like my mom and I both did these. NAMI is the North American Mental Illnesses, and anyway, we went to these like family support groups trying to get answers, and it's just, what do you do? Short of call law enforcement. And then I was always nervous about involving law enforcement for many reasons. Him being, or anyone being hurt being one of them, but also just, is that really the best way to make him feel? That's not going to make him feel safe. You know what I mean? Like I wanted him to feel safe and to get help from that place, not to get forced into it. And if we could have forced him into it, we would have, but there's just not a way to do that with an adult.
Sure. Yeah. I guess, I feel like with mental illness, you guys seem like you were trying to get him help, but you just, you guys were doing the best you could. But at any point, did you ever think that it would end like this? I mean, this just seems.
Yeah. I would say that this is like my worst nightmare outcome of this situation. It did occur to me, because young white men with mental illnesses, we've seen that in this country time and again, right? So knowing that my brother had these issues and that he was terrified, I was worried about what he would do. I never thought he would. I didn't think he wanted to hurt anybody, so I didn't think he would unless he got really backed into a corner. And I was so scared of that happening. So I guess I would say, like, I didn't let my mind really go there, but it was something that, just given the statistics and everything, I was aware of.
Had your mom, so do you refer to George as your dad?
Yeah, I mean, or stepdad, but I do consider him my dad.
Did either of them relay any concerns within the last couple of days before this all happened? I know you mentioned your mom had called law enforcement. Was it within those last couple of days that she maybe expressed concerns to them, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I know is that he was summoned for jury duty about a week ago. This, of course, to his mind, was some sort of conspiracy to get to him. So, I mean, I know this sounds crazy because it is, but in his mind, it was just proof that, and that there was somebody after him. So he my mom went to the courthouse and told them, Isaac's not going to be coming. He's mentally sick. And he did, because he skipped town. I mean, just to the neighboring county to get away from it. He wasn't going to deal with it in any way. So she did it for him. And this is the kind of thing that she would do. Sometimes I would be like, just let him get in trouble, you know? And it wasn't that she was trying to protect him from getting in trouble exactly. She just always did things to help as she saw it. And so she did that for him. She went in and said, he's not coming because he's not well. And I was worried. Well, I was worried, and also I was worried about him, like if they stopped him or something and they tried to I don't know what they do if you skip out on jury duty, but I was just worried about the encounter, and so was she. And so she had contacted the Boone PD at least.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Gosh, I'm so sorry. That is so hard. I can't even imagine. I have a 6-year-old who I'm trying to get him help for anxiety now. And with
Yeah.
all of the chaos of COVID, it's like, I can't even get him in anywhere. Everywhere's waitlisted. So I can only even imagine to the level your mom was trying to go through for your brother. It must have just been, and no wonder she did it. I mean, it's her son's her baby. But so that I guess that at least makes sense. What do you want to say to the topic of mental illness and mental health? I mean, we hear about it time and time again. Do you feel like she just maybe needed more supports that weren't there for her? Like, was there just not enough help? Is there not enough help in the country in general? Like, what would you say to the whole situation? Could it have been prevented if maybe somebody was able to step in? I mean, what?
Yeah, I mean, I felt pretty helpless throughout it all, and I know that my mom did too. It's hard to even like imagine what a solution would look like. But I do know that I wish that law enforcement wasn't the only way to get an adult into care. And if it needs to be law enforcement, then their training needs to be really tight, because obviously people get hurt in these situations where, one, maybe communication could have been made that wasn't made. And two, you need to send in the appropriate people to a situation that could be volatile. So yeah, I don't have a solution. I don't know what one would look like, but we did just feel like there weren't resources for us. And, bless my mom, what, I don't know, I'm not a mother, so I don't know what it would be like to kick him out and know that he's just going to go be homeless, or, so I don't, sometimes I wish she would do stuff like that. But she wasn't going to do that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
personally, yeah, you'd move the moon and the stars if you could as a
Yeah.
mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess what's next for you and your family? I mean, you now have lost your mom, you've lost George, who's been like a dad to you, you've lost
Yeah.
your brother. What's next for Sommer?
Well, I'm just trying to keep it together now, but I have so much support in my life, and that's become really evident. And I felt really alone like the minute I got the news, but people have shown me that I'm not, and I really, really appreciate that. Um, I mean, I'm pretty strong, so I will keep on keeping on with my work and classes that I'm taking, and just I'll keep it together, but I'll never forget my little family. I loved all three of them so, so much. And I'm just so sad that it went this way.
how did you find out? Was it police who called you, or did a family member reach out, or?
No, I was the first in the family to know. And I learned from a Facebook post that the siege was happening. Um, and so I called the police and confirmed where it was, and they didn't have much information for me at that time. It was still ongoing. And then I guess, so that was around 1 o'clock. And then um, around 11:30, I saw a article in the Sun where that said that Isaac had shot himself, and that the standoff was over. And so I called the Boone PD because they had given me a person to talk. I think it was just one officer. He just volunteered to sort of liaise for me. So I contacted him, and he confirmed that what I had read. And no, really, I was doing all of the reaching out. Nobody reached out to me. That's another thing I'm still upset about, that I haven't received any calls from. I know that the SBI has taken over the scene, but I didn't get any calls from the sheriff's department or Boone PD that I didn't seek out myself. I would leave messages and stuff. So
Yeah, that's awful, especially knowing like that your mom had been communicating with them prior to like at least let them know the situation, and that
yeah,
yeah, they didn't even call you to kind of get some background. That's crazy.
yeah, it was really awful. And yeah, I mean, when I got a call back after the Boone PD guy, when he confirmed the story that I had read online, he had the sheriff's department call me. I'm not sure which deputy called me or who it was, but he simply asked, well, do you have any questions? He didn't even, there was no formal notification of death. And I'm sitting here in, shock, and just, my partner was sitting next to me, so I had to have them remind me what was said, even on the phone, because it didn't seem real. And then I'm not even getting a solid confirmation of anything. So no notification of death. I still haven't received. I had to ask them to call my grandmother and my dad.
That is something. That really is something.
Yeah.
So I guess Summer, I mean, it seems like there was a really tragic ending to your brother's life, but prior to 2 years ago, tell me what your relationship was like prior to 2 years ago, or who he was as a person prior to this mental illness taking over his life.
Yeah. I mean, he and I we were pretty close. We'd talk a lot. He was a big talker. He was always, learning new stuff, or had a new hobby. He was into martial arts, and he got really into doing Tai Chi. And he loved that. Oh, and he started doing capoeira. So like he was just really into that stuff, and staying fit that way. And he also started getting into woodworking a few years ago. And before he got really sick, he was doing like tree work and landscaping type work, and he really enjoyed that. He was just kind of a hippie, I guess, kind of a hippie type, but not like, I don't know, not usually not flaky, but he was always kind of spiritual and stuff. So it's almost like, he was eccentric before. And so I say it's been 2 years, but it's, some of it kind of seemed like, oh, that's just Isaac being Isaac, but it got much more serious.
And then let's talk about your mom and George. So I saw on George's Facebook the picture he posted of their wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
And so this year would have been 15 years, which is really incredible.
Yeah.
What, I guess, do you want to say to their marriage and their relationship, and them and your mom finding love in George?
God, I have been so grateful for George over the years. My mom had this kind of fiery personality sometimes, and George was just cool as a cucumber. They really balanced each other out. um, and they both were so funny. Like, to get them together, just I remember inviting a boyfriend to dinner for the first time, and I was a little nervous, but they were just so funny, and just it was like they're just riffing, and we all had a really good time, and that was just their dynamic. Um, and he just loved her so much, and like I said, she was she could be fierce and fire, not angry, but like just you know just a little bit more colorful than him. Um, and I feel like he tempered her out, and she kind of fired him up a little bit, and it was just really good. Um, but he just loved her so unconditionally. And see, I when they got married pretty quickly after he entered the scene, and I was kind of like, like, what's the deal with this, But they were just so perfect for each other, and I've just been so grateful for George and his support for her with Isaac, and his support of Isaac directly. I mean, I know he loved Isaac too, and yeah, and it's just so sad. Um, but they were a great couple.
Yeah, everyone we've talked to has said that. How was he as like a dad to you?
Oh, so good. I mean, like I have, my father's been in my life. That's my dad, but George came and was just I just wish he'd been there my whole life, like he was. I remember the first time he referred to me as his daughter. Like I'll never forget it. I think I cried then too. Cuz he was just such a good dad. Um
Oh, that's really, really, really sweet.
yeah.
Um, all right. Well, let me think. We talked about your brother and everything that happened and how you found out, and your mom and George. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you feel like is important to remember about them, or maybe something you want the community to know about them?
Well, I guess just that they loved their community and their community loved them back. And yeah, that's it, I guess. I miss them.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen, the community has started to plan a bunch of remembrance. I know there's a big day of remembrance for them being planned. I think it's Monday, May 10th.
Oh, good.
Could be something special to be in town for,
Yeah.
to feel the love, feel the love.
Yeah.
Um, well, thank you so much. You have so much strength for coming on and talking to me about them, and I really do appreciate it. And I know, the community has really been obviously following this story closely, and so it'll be good to show some good positivity about who they were and stuff. I feel like
Mm.
instead of negative of what happened, but
Yeah. Thank you for doing that.
that's of course. And then I was going to ask you too, are you able to share any family photos of George or your mom, or I guess you call him dad, but of your dad or your mom, or even of your brother, and maybe you and your brother together?
Yeah, I would love to do that.
Right, that would
Yeah.
be awesome. So you have my email. You can actually